Namaste dear learners, today in this video lecture we will begin with our module 3 which is on culture. I am Miss Pankti Surve from the Institute of Distance and Open Learning, University of Mumbai. Today we will explore the concept of culture and understand the processes involved in its development. To begin with, let us first understand that culture is unique to man. It is the most important trait that has distinguished a human from an animal. Culture is the totality of learned and socially transmitted behavior. It includes the customs, traditions, ideas, and values, artifacts of groups of people. Culture is essential for individuals because it is fundamental for the survival of societies. Since humans cannot rely only on instincts to survive, culture is a toolkit for survival. So let us now look at the definition of culture. The most popular and widely accepted definition of culture was given by Edward Tyler, who defined culture as that complex whole including beliefs, art, religion, values, norms, ideas, law, language, practices, customs, and any other capabilities and habits acquired by men as a member of society. Now, let us see how culture and society are related. Society and culture are distinct yet interrelated concepts. Society and culture are distinct yet interrelated concepts. A society is the largest form of human group. It occupies the same geographic territory and is subject to the same political authority and dominant cultural expectations. It consists of people who share a common heritage and culture. Whereas a society is composed of a people, a culture is composed of ideas, behavior, and material possessions. Therefore, it would be apt to state that society and culture are independent, neither could exist without the other. Thus, as culture is essential for individuals, it is also fundamental for the survival of societies. Gillen and Gillen have compared culture to the cement that binds individuals together into a society. Let us now understand the process which leads to the development of culture. The three main processes that lead to the development of culture are discovery, invention, and cultural diffusion. Discovery is one of the sources of socio-cultural change. Horton and Hunt defines discovery as a shared human perception of an aspect of reality which already exists. In other words, discovery involves making known or sharing the existence of an aspect of reality. The gravitational forces of the earth, circulation of blood, principle of concentration of energy, etc. were all already there before the discovery. A new discovery becomes an addition to the society's culture only when it is shared within the society. It becomes a contributing factor in social change only when it is put to use. For example, the power of steam engine was studied by the ancient Greeks long back. In fact, a steam engine was built as a toy in Alexandria in around 100 AD. But the principle was not put to use for nearly 1700 years after its discovery. The finding of the DNA molecule and the identification of a new moon of Saturn are both the acts of discovery. As the number of discoveries in a culture increased, inventions became possible. The other process is the invention. Invention refers to a new combination of or a new use of existing knowledge. While Robertson defines invention as the combination or new use of existing knowledge to produce something that did not exist before, it can be stated that the more inventions a culture possesses, the more rapidly further inventions can be created. Existing cultural knowledge within a society provides a solid foundation for new inventions. Ogburn has listed 150 inventions that were made almost simultaneously by different scientists in the same or similar cultures. Diffusion is another process which leads to the development of a culture. It is not necessary for societies to always discover or invent its culture. It may also adopt ideas, technology, and customs from other cultures. Sociologists use the term diffusion to refer to the process by which a cultural item both material artifacts and ideas, is spread from group to group or from society to society. To give you an example, remember how religions like Buddhism and Christianity spread to many countries? Not only religion but also food habits, dressing styles, music, etc. also get diffused from one society to another. There are a number of ways through which diffusion occurs, some of which are exploration, military conquest, missionary work, the influence of mass media, and tourism. Diffusion and social change are interrelated. George Murdoch has estimated that about 90% of the contents of every culture have been acquired from other societies. In the early stages of human history, culture changed rather slowly through discovery. As a number of discoveries in a culture increased, inventions became possible. The more inventions there were, the more rapidly further inventions could be created. At the same time, more and more diverse cultures came into contact with one another, which is why they could each take advantage of the other's innovations. While diffusion is common, the process of diffusion of cultural traits does not occur automatically. Sometimes groups and societies resist ideas which seem too foreign, as well as ideas which are perceived to threaten their beliefs and practices. Each culture is selective about what it absorbs from another culture. Europe accepted silk, the magnetic compass, chess, and gunpowder from the Chinese. At the same time, it rejected the teachings of the Confucius as an ideology. Similarly, Indians adopted the English language as a form of formal communication but have rejected certain habits of Western societies. So, what are the characteristics of culture? The very first thing to keep in mind is culture is learnt. It is not learnt biologically but learnt socially by men. One is not born with a culture and there are no cultural instincts as such. It is for this reason that culture is referred to as learned ways of behavior by men as a member of societies. Unlearned behavior such as blinking of eyes, reflex actions are purely biological and not cultural. Greeting each other, touching feet of the others, on the other hand, are cultural. Similarly, wearing particular kinds of clothes, cooking food, drinking from a glass, or eating food with fork, hands, or chopsticks, following religious practices, etc., are all ways of behavior learnt by men culturally. Secondly, culture is social. Culture is necessarily a product of society. It originates and develops through social interactions. It is shared by members of society. It is not an individual phenomenon and therefore does not exist in isolation. Culture can only be passed on through association with other human beings. The process of becoming human or acquiring human qualities is possible only in the human environment. Deprivation of human company or association with other individuals or human contact is equivalent to deprivation of human qualities. Another important characteristic of culture is the quality of being shared. Culture is not possessed by any individual alone. In a sociological sense, it is something that is shared. Our customs, traditions, beliefs, practices, and value systems are shared by people of a group or a society. The works of literature or artifacts, as well as our values or mores, are all shared by a large number of people who constitute the society. Robert Bierstadt states that culture is something adopted, used, believed, practiced, or possessed by more than one person. It depends upon group life for its existence. Culture is transmissive. Culture is composed of all the modes of thought, behavior, and production that are handed down from one generation to the next. This is done through the means of communicative interaction such as language, gestures, writing, building, and other communications among humans. Language is the most important medium through which parents pass on culture traits to their children. This means that culture is not genetic or hereditary and needs to be consciously transmitted to the next generation. Imitation and information play an important role in cultural transmission. Culture is continuous and cumulative. Culture is a continuous phenomenon. In its historical growth, it tends to become cumulative. Culture reflects our past and the present and makes provision for our future achievement of mankind. Thus, it can be referred to as a growing whole which is continuous and accumulates over a period of time. Culture may thus be conceived of as a kind of stream flowing down through the centuries from one generation to another. The culture that we see today is the result of continuous accumulation of traits of several decades or even centuries. Culture is integrated. Culture has the tendency to be consistent. Several parts of culture are interrelated, interdependent, and interconnected. For instance, a society's value system and its religion, economics, customs, and beliefs are all closely related to each other. Culture is dynamic and adaptive. No culture is static. In fact, it is a subject to slow and constant changes. Change and growth are inherent, thus, culture is dynamic. Culture is also adaptive as it responds to the changing conditions within the society. It also intervenes in the natural environment and helps man in his process of adjustment. Culture provides us tools and techniques of survival and therefore helps in adaptation. Culture is gratifying. Culture prescribes means as well as the opportunities to satisfy our needs, both biological or social in nature. Our basic needs of food, shelter, and clothing, as well as the need for security, status, and money, are all fulfilled as per the norms prescribed by culture. Every society has a unique culture of its own. Cultures are not uniform as they differ from society to society. As mentioned earlier, no culture is constant or static. Culture is superorganic and ideational. Classical sociologist Herbert Spencer stated that culture is neither organic nor inorganic, but it is superorganic. It means that every physical object and physiological act has deep social meaning. The social meaning may be independent of the physiological and physical properties and characteristics of that object. For example, the flag of a country is not just a colored piece of cloth, but it is a symbol of a nation, its honor, its pride, and respect. Similarly, a chair may have different meanings depending on its location. Every society considers its culture as an ideal. It is regarded as an end in itself. So I hope by now we are clear with the characteristics of culture. Here I have a small exercise for you. Think about how the culture of Indian society has evolved over time through various processes involved in the development of culture. In the next tutorial, we will focus on the functions and various elements of culture. Thank you.